Hello and welcome to another video from oorail. Today we have another 15 minutes of modeling video, and it is Monday, November 25th, 2019. If you're looking for the modeling I did over the weekend, unfortunately I had a pretty hectic schedule to start with. Got kids had hockey and some other stuff going on, and then unfortunately one of our cats who was already a little bit sick and on some medication, turns out he got severely dehydrated on that medication, and so we had to take him out to the emergency vet and get him sorted out. So the good news is he's feeling a lot better and is on the mend, so hopefully we took care of that. But unfortunately, a lot of the modeling that I had planned for the weekend kind of took a bit of a backseat because of that. So we're back at it today though, so hopefully you guys will enjoy this video, and we're going to get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is start the timer. So Alexa, 15-minute timer.
15 minutes, starting now.
So the first thing I want to do is sort of clean this mess up. We sort of have a whole bunch of scatter and some ballast that shouldn't really be there. So I'm going to go take the vacuum cleaner here, the dust buster, and sort of clean some stuff up. So okay, so I probably could have saved some of that, but I'm not too worried about it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint this rail. So what I'm going to try to do today is basically just paint some of this track and maybe seal this stuff in as well. And then we can do some ballasting and stuff tomorrow. So I'm going to start off with some paint. So usually what I try to do is mix up some acrylic paint. So here I've got, this is brown oxide. So if you ever take a look at pictures of rails, they typically are kind of a brownish kind of color on the side. So we're going to try to mix up some paint that at least is somewhat on the brown side. Hopefully it hasn't congealed or something. It doesn't look too good. I'm going to go shake it some more. Give it a good shake here, and hopefully it'll come out a little bit more liquidy. Not really. This paint may have been sitting here for a while. Okay. So that should be more than enough to get started. I also want to make it a little bit darker, so I'm going to mix in some burnt umber. It's a little darker, so again, this one's definitely more liquidy than the other ones. Let's see. And what we're going to do next is just simply mix this all together. Now I want to add a little bit of, I think, some gray to it. So I'm going to shake up this gray paint that I have. Again, this is all acrylic paint, and it's all just cheap, you know, dollar stuff from Walmart. The trick with this is to make sure you mix it up real good. I'm going to try to add some more of this burnt umber into the mix to darken it back up. Oops. Okay, so the color I've got is, sort of see there, it's kind of a grayish brown color. It's kind of what I'm going for. It just needs a little more of a kind of a reddish tone, so I'm going to go and add this chestnut color to it. It's kind of like got a little bit. I'm not going to add too much, just enough to hopefully just give it a more of an oxide look than a gray look, which is kind of what we're going for. So going to mix this in a bit. Now I'm a bit lazy. Normally you might just do this in smaller amounts of paint until you get the color right. I like to sort of just dump a ton of it in there and see if it gives me the right color. So there, I've got more of a reddish tinge to it. So I think that's worked pretty well. So kind of you can see there I've used burnt umber a whole lot, some brown oxide, and some granite gray. In case you want to continue along, you can use similar colors. I'm sure you can find the UK. And so what we're going to do is just basically paint a little portion of the rails here and see if it's too dark, if it's too light, if it's not quite the right color. So it definitely does look like it's a little too light for what I'm looking for, so I may mix in some more of the dark here, so mix in more of the burnt umber and see what we get. So take a look at that real quick. Definitely is still a little too bright, I think so. I'm gonna check more of the burnt umber in here, try to darken it. I may end up having to use some black, we'll see. I think that may have darkened it up just enough. Now we're going to still weather this with sort of sleeper grime, so we don't want to make it too dark, but we also don't want it too light. Now don't worry about getting it on the sleepers. We're going to go over the sleepers with some aged concrete paint to make it a little more realistic. Now, once you've done a section of track, you're going to want to run over the top of the rail just to make sure that it hasn't, sort of stuck to the rail itself. So you just do this. You could probably use a paper towel or kitchen towel as well, but this works just as well, like so. And we're just going to continue doing this down site. Now, I'm not going to paint the outside of this rail here, mainly because it's kind of caught by the scenery, and then once we put the ballast in and we add some detailing, staining of the ballast and so on, it's not really going to get caught up on the camera, so I don't think there's really going to be much point to painting that inside or the outside of that rail. I will paint the inside of this a little bit, but again, you'll get it when you stain the ballast as well. So And one of the reasons I did the scenery before painting the rails is that they're green from the foliage and stuff there. It sort of stained the plastic sleepers a little bit, and so I'm going to use that to kind of augment the look. So I might not fully paint the sleepers. I might leave some of that staining there, so that it looks more like, you know, moss or something that's grown on the sleepers themselves. So I'm going to continue. Actually, I'm still on the camera. I'm going to continue painting down a little bit through here. So over here you can sort of see there's still some of the rail showing through, so we're just going to kind of paint over that a little bit, just to make sure that we get most of it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just roughly paint on the inside of the rail down through here, and it's a little tricky to do because I'm not as high up as I probably should be to reach that, but we'll do our best. Now you could use one of these pens that they sell for doing the paint as well, but this is cheaper and it should work just as well. Just remember, I am painting this blind, so I will actually use the camera later on to go back in and see if I've done a good job of it or not, and then sort of just go back and clean it later. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter too much what kind of shade of brown you get this, as long as the brown is somewhat close to what you're looking for. Because if you ever look at photos, and I know some of the color might not be quite right on photos, but if you look at rails in general or just photos of rails, they tend to vary quite a bit in terms of, you know, how they've rusted, or, you know, the use of the line and so on. So you can usually get away with, you know, quite a large variant of shades of brown here, as long as it's like reasonably close. Alright, so I'm going to run my finger down through here. I'm sure there's a much better way to do this. Probably use that, you know, cotton bud or something like that, but yeah, this works just as well. One thing to keep in mind with these acrylic paints, especially if you get these cheaper ones, they do tend to be very liquidy, so you want to make sure you don't splash anything that's on your layout, like rolling stock or anything like that that's nearby. Okay, so what we ended up doing today was basically mixing up the paint and painting these rails here. I'll probably paint this other set of rails here, and just because I have the paint mixed up and ready to go. So that's it for today's video. Tomorrow's video I will go and actually come through here and paint the various sleepers here with the H cement, and then I might switch gears and do another project on Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll come back through here and ballast this up and then look at adding some line side detail. Now keep in mind this is a third rail line, so we will probably install the third rail here on the inside for this section of the track and go from there. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoy the video, and until next time.